Antarctica has gone silent. Several research stations were shut down with no clear explanation, only rumors of a massive object that appeared over the ice. The reports match the old stories from Operation High Jump, when Admiral Byrd's team claimed they encountered craft that moved faster than anything they'd ever seen. Now the same strange lights are back. Crews were pulled out, flights stopped, and the continent feels off-limits. Something unusual is unfolding in Antarctica, and nobody is talking. Operation High Jump and UFO sightings. Operation High Jump, launched in 1946 under the command of Admiral Richard E. Byrd, was officially described as a large-scale U.S. Navy expedition to Antarctica focused on testing equipment, training personnel, and establishing a research base. But as time went on, the operation became the subject of persistent speculation, with eyewitness reports and evidence revealing that they had an unspoken objective. They were locating and neutralizing remnants of Nazi technology, including the so-called flying saucers, rumored to have been developed during the final years of the Third Reich. The strange aerial phenomena described by crew members near the Antarctic coast weren't only extraterrestrial craft, but also advanced human-made machines being tested in remote, icy territory. Several sailors on an expedition to Antarctica reported seeing unusual lights. These lights didn't behave like conventional aircraft or natural atmospheric effects. Some rose slowly from the horizon before disappearing into the sky, while others shot straight upward from the surface of the ocean in movements that defied the known capabilities of 1940s aviation. The witnesses revealed that the objects were fast, silent, and maneuverable, accelerating in abrupt bursts and changing direction with a precision that no Allied aircraft could match. Their descriptions also included disc-shaped outlines. The most shocking claims connected to Operation High Jump reveal alleged attacks. According to leaked Soviet documents, a U.S. aircraft was destroyed by a concentrated beam of energy emitted from one of these unidentified craft. Another account describes a torpedo boat, identified as the USS Maddox, bursting into flames after a close encounter with a similar object. These incidents would explain why the mission, which was meant to last many months, was suddenly terminated after a matter of weeks. The Soviet documents revealed that the response of the unidentified craft wasn't offensive warfare, but a defensive measure intended to force the U.S. fleet out of the region. Admiral Richard E. Byrd himself became a central figure in later speculation. After an expedition to Antarctica, he told a Chilean newspaper that the United States needed to prepare for the possibility of attacks from aerial craft capable of traveling from pole to pole at unprecedented speeds. This quickly increased interest in UFOs in Antarctica. The most controversial aspect is the secret diary owned by Byrd, which describes a dramatic encounter in which glowing, disc-shaped aircraft actually seized control of his plane and guided it into a hidden base. Skeptics argue that this is a hoax, but it's one of the biggest pieces of evidence in Operation High Jump. Some of the recent UFO sightings in Antarctica also described disc-shaped UFOs with similarities in speed, maneuverability, and silence. This is the same case as the UFO sighting that happened during Operation High Jump. Even stranger, the operation concluded only months before the 1947 Roswell incident. But during the investigations into Operation High Jump, some strange beings were detected, including the secret Nazi base, which held a mythical advanced base, the Arnani, and strange animals that don't exist today. Strange beings in Antarctica. The idea of strange beings in Antarctica is rooted in a blend of historical expeditions, wartime mythology, and later documents that blurred the lines between fact and conspiracy. Before the Second World War, several Nazi expeditions, including the 1938 Schwabenland mission, traveled to Antarctica to map potential whaling grounds and explore territorial claims. Over the decades, these ventures changed their original intention, especially when it came to groups like the Thule Society. Nazi leaders believed in a mythical ancient race known as the Ariani, a civilization of advanced, Nordic-looking beings who lived in the hidden regions of the Earth. The researchers went on quests to locate underground sanctuaries, lost technologies, and secret alliances with otherworldly and extraterrestrial intelligences that were residing beneath the ice. When researching the strange beings in Antarctica, one central person intertwined with the findings was Byrd and his secret diary. This was a document that surfaced decades after Byrd's death and was promoted as his personal account of an extraordinary Antarctic encounter. In the diary, Byrd describes flying over the polar region when he unexpectedly entered a warm, verdant valley, completely out of place on the frozen continent. He remembered that he saw mammoth-like creatures roaming the landscape, and once there was a luminous flying craft that definitely wasn't from Earth, seizing control of his plane. Byrd was then escorted into a vast underground city inhabited by tall, pale, Aryan-looking beings who spoke of overseeing humanity's development and warned him against the destructive path of nuclear weapons. Although historians say that the diary is a fabrication and is inconsistent with Byrd's known activities, the imagery echoed through Cold War-era documents and rumors surrounding Operation High Jump. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, several Soviet military analyses were publicized, claiming that U.S. forces in Antarctica had encountered an unknown flying craft capable of disabling or destroying American ships. These accounts suggested that the mysterious aerial objects exhibited extraordinary speed and maneuverability, forcing the U.S. fleet to retreat earlier than planned. The craft also originated from hidden Antarctic installations, indirectly reinforcing the older Nazi-era myths of underground civilizations and advanced beings beneath the ice. Looking at these narratives, from the Nazi occult exploration and diary to the claims of flying saucers and strange beings, it's clear that something mysterious was happening in Antarctica. The massive UFOs that were spotted in that region remain a source of investigation today, and important Antarctica research shut down because of these strange happenings. Antarctic research shut down. In late 2013, the Whillans Ice Stream Subglacial Access Research Drilling Program, a major undertaking involving more than 10 years of planning and over $10 million of government funding, faced a dramatic setback when the National Science Foundation announced that the U.S. Antarctic Research Program would be suspended during a federal government shutdown. WISARD, a collaboration of 14 principal investigators across 9 institutions, including glaciologists, geophysicists, and microbiologists, had achieved a breakthrough earlier in the year by discovering microbial life beneath a glacier-buried Antarctic lake. The team was preparing its next phase of exploration when they were suddenly forced to stand down as the program entered caretaker status, meaning that only basic operations to preserve life and property would continue while research activities were suspended. The shutdown came at a particularly critical time. Field operations in Antarctica have extremely tight seasonal windows. The Austrian summer is brief, and once the window closes, major field deployments become next to impossible until the following year. Because WISARD's planned deployment was cancelled, the team lost an entire season of data collection and operational momentum. This setback actually undermined years of investment and scientific progress. One researcher said that canceling the project wasted half the project's money, planning and preparation time because the field time simply couldn't be made up. Aside from the direct loss of fieldwork, the shutdown's ripple effects were profound. Graduate students attached to the project found their schedule disrupted, contractual personnel were left idle, and key equipment lay unused. The logistical complexity of Antarctic science, where each expedition requires months of coordination, supply chain management, and infrastructure buildup, meant that restarting after the interruption would be a matter of picking up where you left off. Disc-shaped UFO in Antarctica. In August 2012, a video surfaced online showing a rounded, blurry object hovering above Neumayer Station 3, which is a German research station on the Ekstrom ice shelf in Antarctica. The footage taken on the 13th of August shows a circular object in the sky over the station. Ufologists instantly jumped on this, as this was clear evidence of a flying disc or extraterrestrial craft in the region. It was a strange object that didn't produce smoke or have any wings, and it was very quiet as it moved. But skeptics argue that the shape, position, and behavior of the object look similar to a weather balloon or similar benign object used in atmospheric and meteorological research, and that the footage was in time-lapse, so the object only appeared for a few frames. It's hard to believe that the ufologists aren't right when you realize the situation in Antarctica and strange sightings. A second, and perhaps more dramatic, claim emerged from satellite imagery. At specific coordinates, a researcher named Scott C. Waring claimed to have spotted a disc-shaped anomaly roughly 40 meters across, embedded in a heart-shaped break in the ice. The object was suspected to be a crashed UFO hidden beneath the Antarctic ice. His commentary argued that the remoteness of the location and its isolation from routine human activity made it an ideal hiding place for an alien craft. But skeptics and some scientists don't agree with this claim and instead point out that such satellite imagery is prone to visual anomalies, misinterpretations, and rendering artifacts. It could be blocks of ice, avalanche debris, or odd shadows and terrains. Although these disc-shaped UFOs in Antarctica have come with no visible proof, they still offer some insight into the situation of Antarctica. Even back in 1964, the continent witnessed strange sightings that have disrupted research programs. Japan Airlines Cargo Flight 1628 UFO Incident. On November 17, 1986, a Japanese cargo flight, a Boeing 747-200F, registered as Japan Airlines Flight 1628, became the focal point of one of the most widely discussed UFO incidents in modern aviation. The aircraft, en route from Paris to Tokyo through Reykjavik and Anchorage, was flying at 35,000 feet over eastern Alaska when the crew reported unusual aerial phenomena. According to pilot Kenju Terauchi, first they noticed two unidentified objects to the left of the aircraft, then later a very large third object that appeared to shadow the flight. The first reported sighting came around 5:11 p.m. Alaska time during the Reykjavik-Anchorage leg of the journey. Terauchi saw two brilliant lights he initially thought were military aircraft. Then, he realized that spaceship or leadership activity began. The objects seemed to maneuver with astounding agility, matching the 737's speed, then accelerating away or shifting position abruptly. He described the second craft as twice the size of an aircraft carrier. Ground radar controllers at the Anchorage Air Route Traffic Control Center were contacted by the flight crew and, at one point, instructed the crew to change course. The crew made a 360-degree turn and decreased altitude, yet the lights remained with them. While the ARTCC's civilian radar didn't track multiple objects, military radar records and controller commentary suggest additional returns were noted. Later analysis said it was just clutter, or a split image of the 747 itself. But this couldn't explain what the pilot saw in person. Despite the persistence of the lights for some 30 to 50 minutes, the accompanying United Airlines and U.S. Air Force aircraft in the area reported that there were no anomalous visual sightings or radar contacts. When Flight 1628 landed safely in Anchorage, the crew was interviewed by the FAA. The FAA later characterized Terauchi as a UFO repeater, noting he had reported previous anomalous sightings. Still, the official record concluded that radar returns could be attributed to imaging artifacts and that the evidence was inconclusive. The compelling elements of the case, from the experienced pilot and visual reports to radar involvement and even the course changes, make the UFO case seem to be very credible. To this date, it fuels debate as one of the most shocking UFO sightings in Alaska. But there's also the Alaska Triangle, a strange place that seems to consume everything that passes by. Alaska Triangle. The Alaska Triangle, sometimes called the Alaskan Bermuda Triangle, is a loosely defined region of Alaska bounded roughly by the cities of Anchorage, Juneau, and Utqiagvik, formerly Barrow, on the northern coast. This sprawling and remote wilderness has for decades been associated with strange phenomena, from unexplained disappearances to aircraft losses and reports of unusual aerial sightings. Because the region is so vast, the terrain so unforgiving, and the population so sparse, many investigators say that the vanishing is simply because of the unforgiving elements, like the deep wilderness, sudden storms, magnetic anomalies, and treacherous logistics. But beyond the harsh environment, the Alaska Triangle has a strong resonance in UFO and extraterrestrial lore. There have been reports of strange lights, flying craft, and uncanny behavior dominating the paranormal side of the region's reputation. In particular, skies over the triangle have once been claimed to host triangular or disc-shaped craft, silent hovering objects, and lights that evade conventional explanation. Some of these reports connect with larger UFO cases, like the Japan Airlines Cargo Flight 1628 UFO incident that happened in 1986, which occurred in the broader area and sparked talk of a mothership plus 2 small ships. Different forms of testimony and research point towards the craft landing and maneuvering near the remote Alaskan mountains. Proponents of the UFO and extraterrestrial sightings in Alaska argue that the isolation, low human presence, and extreme terrain make the Alaska Triangle the best place for secret landings, hidden crash sites, and alien investigations. At the same time, skeptics caution that many sightings may reflect optical illusions like aurora borealis and atmospheric refraction, magnetic interference affecting instruments, or misidentified aircraft. Scientists state explicitly that there is no verifiable evidence linking alien craft to the region. The Alaska Triangle's connection to UFOs remains part of science and culture. With the remote wilderness, frequent aircraft incidents, and occasional unusual aerial reports, the region has a higher status when it comes to UFO investigations. Aside from this triangle, there have been many other anomalies in Alaska. UFO and light anomalies. In March 1987, Western Alaska witnessed a series of reported light anomalies that stirred the interest of both local communities and military observers. On the night of March 17th to 18th, multiple villages, such as Savunga, Gamble, and Tununak, reported a large luminous object moving at high altitude, described by some as round and seeming bigger than a jetliner. Witness accounts included observations of a bright, egg-shaped cloud, a vividly colored glow, and a trailing plume of smoke beneath the object. The event prompted official interest. The Alaska National Guard acknowledged receiving several reports, and discussions emerged about whether the sightings were linked to conventional phenomena, such as a satellite re-entry or atmospheric optics. The event prompted official interest. The Alaska National Guard acknowledged receiving several reports, and discussions emerged about whether the sightings were linked to conventional phenomena, such as a satellite re-entry or atmospheric optics. The footage, starting at around 3 a.m. on May 13th, showed a solitary bright light, followed by a visible division into 3 lights at about the 1:03 and 2:30 marks of the recording. This strange behavior of an orb spitting out smaller lights was strange and not associated with any aircraft or known aerial devices. While mainstream analyses offered possible terrestrial explanations, such as drones, balloons, or atmospheric refraction, the clarity and context of the video continue to fuel interest among UFO enthusiasts. What do you think is happening in Antarctica's skies? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. So, thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one.